It's been over 2 years since I touched a LEGO Technic set, or maybe not that much as the Ornithopter is more Technic than System, and even though I'm a huge space fan, got to see the new Space Technic sets last year firsthand, while cool, they still didn't do enough for me to push me over the edge and consider tackling a LEGO system I really dislike. Really hard to put together, really hard to take apart, a stressing building experience, and while I really like LEGO functions and mechanisms in LEGO sets, the Technic theme feels a bit stale in that department as it sticks mostly to cars and construction vehicles. But then the Planet Earth and Moon in Orbit set came to be and I was blown away and could not wait to get my hands on it. It is part of the cross-theme space partnership seen in City, Friends and other themes, signaled by the school banner on the side of all of those boxes. But this is the highlight obviously, the Orrery, a fancy name for what's basically a mechanical model of the solar system, aiming to display the relative positions and movements of planets and moons around the Sun, which are represented here with brand new elements. The Sun with two half-dome pieces in bright light orange and planet Earth with two printed half-dome pieces. These massive gaps by the connector points are a bit painful to look at, but I guess they fit the Technic aesthetic, so there's that. Now there's really no point in beating around the bush. The best thing about this model is the functional aspect of the whole thing. And let me tell you, turning the crank down here and seeing everything in motion for the first time after I was done building it was definitely one of the most enjoyable LEGO experiences of my life. I was afraid that there would be too much friction with the mechanism given the amount of gears and gear multiplications it has. But I was careful during the build by not squeezing the movable parts too much, and in the end I could not believe how smooth the whole thing is. The mechanism in itself is quite spectacular given how many different things it can do by the turn of a single crank. First and foremost, the Sun's rotation is pretty simple, I would say, but then there's this arm mounted on a Technic turntable that is turning to simulate Earth's movement around the Sun. Through this arm, two axles are transferring movement to this assembly here. The most obvious one makes the turntable to which the Moon is attached to do its thing. At the same time, there's this gear on the outside that is transferring movement below and then inside the Moon turntable to make Earth's gears spin. And lastly, the second axle going through the arm took me a while to figure out as the movement is so subtle, yet slowly but surely is making this smaller turntable here rotate, changing the angle at which Earth is facing the Sun. Why is that relevant, you may think? The seasons of the year, where summer in the south hemisphere of the planet is around December, right when Earth's inclination is like this, whereas summer in the northern hemisphere is around July and August, when the Earth's inclination is like this and catching a lot more sun. This is further reinforced by this element here that is pointing towards the months of the year, identified by stickers placed in these ring elements. And if that wasn't enough, the same system is in place for us to identify the moon phases in this assembly here. That's crazy, right? You know what's even crazier? The moon takes about 27.3 days to orbit the Earth, so to the best of my ability I counted the amount of times the Earth model spins while the moon makes a full moon cycle, and that came about to roughly 27 times as well. A full moon cycle is actually 29.5 days, but still, as a space enthusiast, I find this all extremely fascinating and I could not be happier about giving this LEGO Technic set a chance. It isn't perfect though. Due to the weight of the Earth and Moon assembly, turning the crank will make it so that the model becomes a bit unbalanced depending on where the arm is, especially if it's moving away from the crank. The tires at the base do a good enough job to keep the model from sliding on a surface, but you do need to place another hand on the model to keep it from tipping, which is a bit underwhelming. The month and moon phase stickers were also a nightmare to align properly to the elements they're stuck to, but also in relative position to the other stickers, so be ready to struggle with this. I did like the little hints of white and the new orange ring pieces to match the aesthetic of the other space products out there in the entire LEGO portfolio, the subtle assembly to support the weight of the arm, or the use of these small terrain wheels inside this ring element to avoid the Earth and Moon assembly wiggling too much. This set retails for $75 and has little over 500 pieces, but as I'm not into Technic at all, I can't really say if this is a good or a bad deal. However, I personally love it, which is saying a lot about a Technic set. It is not too big or painful to build, the mechanics and functions are all somewhat exposed, so you can actually piece together how the thing works just by looking at it, and it's space themed, which is at the top of my personal interests in life, as well as LEGO. If you've never tried LEGO Technic, I'd totally recommend this one to you. If like me, you dislike Technic, I'd recommend this to you. If you like space, I'd recommend this to you. And if you don't like any of those things, I'd still recommend this to you. Links for purchase in the description if you wish to support the channel. Hopefully the team will come up with some more cool stuff like this in the future, otherwise it'll probably be a few more years until I touch a LEGO Technic set again. If ever. So yeah, see you all in the next one.